Okay, so hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of AI and Oats, which is my daily show where I answer AI questions and talk about AI news articles. But firstly, if you're new, welcome. Who am I? Well, my name's Alistair. Oh, crikey, what's happening here? That is Codex. Codex is getting up a demo for me to show you later on. But anyway, apologies. Back to this. So, right. Okay, so, who am I? Well, basically, my name is Alistair, and welcome. This is my YouTube channel where I teach Claude Code and Codex for knowledge work and business use cases. But I also run an AI consulting and training business called Dux. So if you own or run a business and you'd be interested in seeing how AI could be implemented, or if you'd just like me to help you build out your own Claude Code or Codex knowledge system for, or if you'd just like me to help you build out your own Claude Code or Codex AI operating system for knowledge work, then feel free to get in touch through the link in the description. And then I also have a school community where I go into more detail about the actual kind of skills and setups and systems I use in Claude Code and Codex. But now that the preliminaries are out of the way, let's dive into the questions. So basically, if you've been around for a while, you will know, but if you are new, the way this works is that every day I have a Codex kind of loop or automation that goes and scans various Reddit forums and threads and news articles and pulls together this slide deck of what it thinks are interesting AI questions or AI news articles, and then gets me to it doesn't get me to. I'm not working on behalf of Codex. Codex is working on behalf of me. For now, still, we haven't quite reached the point where we're working for the AI. And then I come and answer the questions, or usually just kind of talk about random, slightly related stuff to do with AI. Learning Codex and agentic tools resources. Right. Off the top of my head, personally, I'd say I've learned, so basically everything I've learned about Codex, Claude Code and everything, I've either taught myself or I've learned it through YouTube. Those are probably the two best places, I'd say. School is good as well. Who are good people? I'd say at the moment, I think Codex specifically, Riley Brown, I think is his name. Pretty sure it is. Definitely Riley is the first name. He has a very good YouTube channel where he goes into a lot of detail about Codex. I think Jack Roberts and Nick Sarayev, for anything to do with Claude Code or Codex or agentic tools, are top notch. I love those guys. I would say Greg Eisenberg is quite good, kind of introductory level stuff. I'm a big fan of Greg Eisenberg. I think some of his Claude Code and Codex stuff doesn't go super high level, not to the level of Jack Roberts and that sort of thing, but I think it's a good introduction. Alex Finn is obviously a big name. He has some, he can be, I like him. Sometimes he's a little bit sensational about things, but in terms of, helping you learn the tools, those are all good places. I have some videos on my YouTube channel, not to promote myself too much. It's also, not to promote myself too much, but it is also something I do with people, is work with them one-on-one over 8 weeks to build out their own kind of fully personalized Codex or Claude Code setup with all their automations and skills and stuff. The other thing you can do is I say YouTube is a really good place. YouTube and just messing about. Just understand the basics, YouTube and that sort of thing. Oh, and Twitter, obviously, or X as it's now called. Understand the basics, learn through YouTube, what's a Claude.md? How do you work in a folder? How should you organize your file structure? Which mode should you use? Which model should you use? Which thinking level should you use? That sort of thing. How do you set up a skill? What is a skill? When should you use a skill? How do you do routines? That sort of thing. Or in Codex, how do you do scheduled tasks? And then I say just play around, do your own use cases. Get used to using the desktop browser, enable computer use, play out with some of the things like Chronicle or something I think it's called, where it's it will record your screen and make it into a skill, and just talk to Codex and explain your goals. Start simple, tell Codex your goals, tell it you're a novice, or not even a novice, but tell it your level, and it will work with you and help you. And then if you get stuck, at that point you can then go watch YouTube videos, or I feel I have to say it, but seek coaching or something. Since that is part of my business, I feel like I have to say that. But quite frankly, to be honest, you don't really need to work with a coach. I'll be honest. You can work almost all of it out from YouTube if you're willing to put in the time, and it's actually quite fun. So that's where I'd say focus on YouTube. I guess school, maybe there's some decent things on school. I guess like Nate Herc as well is another YouTube channel who's kind of decent. As I said, I kind of prefer the other guys I mentioned, but you know, he teaches some decent stuff about Claude Code, which is applicable to Codex. That's the thing. Like a lot of the YouTube space, I say like a lot of the YouTube space still focuses on Claude Code, but the tools are pretty much, you know, all the concepts are pretty much applicable. But I'd say like Riley Brown and Alex Finn are probably the two who focused absolutely the most on Codex, and Every, like the newsletter company, or it's like an AI consulting company, Dan Shipper from Every. I don't think they have loads and loads of YouTube videos, but they do have like good newsletter resources and that sort of thing. They're pretty Codex heavy as well. So those would be my main ones. How do you keep track of all your Codex Claude sessions? I mean, the sidebar, that's how I do it really. It's not absolutely perfect. In Codex as well, they now have this thing where like it will tell you which ones need notifications. So what you have is, so what you do is if you click the little bell thing, then you can see like the ones that need attention, and then don't worry about this, I'll explain this in a moment. And then also the other thing is you can like just group them by like folders, which are like the folders in which you work. Well, these don't have to be the folders in which you work, but they kind of usually are. Then in like Claude Code, the home screen, if you just start in a new session, will like ping you which ones need input. Like this is a routine I have that clearly, well, ran a little while ago. I don't know why that session is actually calling for my attention, given that it's a couple of days old, but still. And then if you open the sidebar again with Claude Code, what you can do is like group them in the same way. So Claude Code doesn't automatically group them into projects by folder in the sidebar like Codex does, but what you can do is just like right click and then like either pin them. You can pin things in Codex as well, which just makes them like appear at the top of the sidebar, or you can move it to a group. Like if I move it to, well, this one's about design, so if I move it to design, or which I've hopefully misspelt with a U instead of an I, design, then if I go to design folder here, I can just like find it. Here it is. But yeah, you can also just like make a new group if you want, like what is this, like planning demo, and then you have a new group, and then you can just collapse them and stuff. Fairly simple, but actually quite useful. And to be honest, I only recently discovered that you could do this with sessions in Claude Code, quite shockingly. And then yeah, if you just like, yeah, and so yeah, that's the sort of thing you can do. And then like in terms of like routines, you can just, these are going to be your scheduled tasks. If you want to monitor those, you can see like which ones have run, even have them on a calendar. So yeah, Claude Code does have pretty good navigation, to be fair, of the different things, but so does Codex. But yeah, sidebar, that's the way to monitor them. Right, next question. It's interesting to see the experiments on how to give AI a computer. Codex and Claude Code use your local machine. ChatGPT work on the web, as well as Claude and ChatGPT give the right. This is a very long question. What's it actually saying? Give the AI a one-time machine online that gets reset, and Grokbot gives each AI a persistent web machine. Okay, yeah, I mean, interesting things. I personally like for me, my favorite thing is working locally, because that's where all my files are. And then the best thing I think about, well, not the best thing necessarily, but I think Codex in particular, Claude Code is pretty good at it as well, but especially Codex is very good at using like using your computer. Like computer use is really good with Codex, so that's why I like having it work locally, because if it's working in a cloud computer, it can't use my computer, which means like it can't, like, there are some like messaging services it couldn't use necessarily, because, well, maybe I could set up, yeah, I probably could set up like MCPs or connections for them, but in a way it's faster just for it to use my, like, use my actual local machine if I wanted to send or read an iMessage or something like that. I mean, I guess the flip side of that is there's a little bit more risk involved having it run locally, so that's why I run like Hermes on a VPS, because I don't really want Hermes running locally. Although, now that I think about it, I don't really know why I feel that way, because I do run Grokbot. Because Grokbot is quite cool. I've been playing around with it a fair bit recently. Like, Grokbot can run locally and it has its own computer it can use, which I quite like. So yeah, but at the moment I run Hermes in like a cloud computer. The thing about like I mean, you could use Claude Code or Codex in the cloud as well, but if you want computer use, you're going to need it on your local computer, and I think that's still the best setup personally. I have had one issue, like one time it did use up, like probably my own fault, but like because it got stuck in a loop of like trying to edit a video or something while I was out. I wasn't actually at my laptop, I was driving the session remotely, and then I came home and it had like not quite crashed my laptop, but like nothing was responding, and I had to restart it because it used up all the RAM or something. But yeah, generally I think I'm a big fan of like working locally, because it means it can like use your signed in Chrome instances as well. I just feel like it's easier if you're willing to give it access. If what you want is like maximal capability and functionality, then I feel like working locally is the best. I'm a fan of it working locally. There are instances when I think it makes sense to work in the cloud, like if it's not going to need to do anything on your local machine, then in a way working on the cloud is like going to use up less of your processing power locally. And like Claude Code on the phone, cloud sessions I find work better than trying to do like local sessions from your phone. Codex I think either way works well, but Claude Code, like trying to drive local sessions remotely from your phone doesn't work that well in my opinion compared to Codex. Why is Opus 5 doing this? A number of times it pumps out a weird end sentence. I haven't noticed it necessarily giving like a weird end sentence. I mean, it is, as everyone says, quite verbose and a little bit annoying to interact with it. I also just find it a little bit, I don't know, I have heard people say that they use Opus 5 as their daily driver and really like it, and as I was saying yesterday or something, artificial analysis still has Opus 5 Max topping their intelligence charts, but personally I just find it a pain to, I don't know, I probably don't hate it. I do use it every now and then. It's quite good at design. I mean, it is good at design. And to be fair, if I hit my fable limits and I have to use Opus 5, I don't mind it. But as I was saying yesterday, I would rather use GPT 5.6 Sol before using Opus 5. Like, my ranking is definitely Fable 5 to me does feel like the best, most intelligent model. Then GPT 5.6 Sol. Although today today and last night 5.6 Sol was getting on my nerves a bit. It was just being a little bit stupid, but usually it's pretty good. And then Opus 5. And like, I don't think Opus 5 is terrible, but it's just not my favourite. And yeah, it can be sometimes just a pain to interact with it, and sometimes it does stupid stuff. Like, I've had it just send blank emails before instead of, it like told me what it would send in an email, then sent the email before putting the text in the email. So it sent an email, then put the text in the email. So all I was left with was like a blank email that had sent and a draft email that had the text in it. So a little bit annoying, but you know, it's not terrible. I mean, I still use it to be honest, but definitely not as my daily driver. Not my first choice, I have to say. But you know, it still works pretty decently. Anyway, I think that will wrap it up for today. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully there were a couple of useful elements in there. Oh, actually, no, that won't wrap it up for today. There was something I wanted to show, which is in relation to the one about tracking sessions, which I now can't find. Here, how do you keep track of your things? Right, basically, this is what I wanted to show, which is that this was inspired by something I saw on X, but I decided to. So, two things. Basically, I saw something showing like code bases represented in these kind of cool like 3D things, and so then my first thought was, okay. So then my first thought was, okay, I have loads of files in my like second brain, whatever you want to call it, business brain. I'd like to map that out and so it kind of made like, it looks a little bit like a city of files to me, but I think this is very cool. I just gave Codex the tweet. I'm not sure what the original tweet was, so apologies that I'm not giving credit to the original tweet person. I will have Codex find the original tweet and link it in the description when it edits this. But basically, what's this? Oh yeah, so first I think I mapped all like my automated things. Is this what I mapped? Yes, I believe so. Okay, so my first thing was like I have several routines and automations and stuff that run each day, including like this AI board that I make. And what are all of these? Actually, that's not massively interesting. Anyway, so basically what I did was actually I thought I have a pretty, complex filing system and that sort of thing. Well, it's not super duper complex, but quite a lot of files, and they're all somewhat interlinked. And I thought, one of the very cool things that people have is like, I think it was Graphify or something a little while ago, was like a kind of vector graph of all this stuff. I don't know if it's a vector graph, but a graph of all your different sessions and like files. And then there's obviously within Obsidian, people have those cool like graph views showing file backlinks. So I thought, why not make a 3D rendering instead of a code base of my actual just filing system? And I like it. It's very cool. I think it looks like a little city with skyscrapers. So basically the height represents the size of the file, and then the like little floating things I guess represent things which connect the files, like elements which are mentioned in both, or things which use, like some of these are going to be like Python scripts, I think, so some of the things which use those. And then like this is like, what are these? These are going to be like, yeah, different companies and stuff. Like these are going to be people I know. Here are like skills. These are like looks like my skills and stuff, generally speaking. Anyway, I just think it's a cool rendering of the things. And then I thought, why don't I add like some of the daily automations I have? And this is the thing that relates a bit more to the question of like, how do you keep track of things? I thought, well, since I have some automations, it'd be cool if I could see them running. So this is like not absolutely totally finished, but the idea is basically, normally these little guys who represent, so these are like my automations which live on like the outskirts of my filing city. So this is kind of meant to be like the files. It is the files that I just showed you. They're not interactive here though. The cool thing would be to make these interactive like they were in the other thing, and then also have the little interactive animated like automations. Like this is my cold email automation. This is like my daily slide deck for this video automation. Is this going to show me them moving? No. Anyway, when they're live or something, basically you see these little guys walking towards roughly what are meant to be the relevant files. So I just think it's cool. So that's sort of an over-engineered way to keep track of some of the sessions, and I don't actually have it for the like live sessions, but I could add those theoretically. So yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is like it's actually very easy just to tell Claude Code or Codex like make some kind of visual representation so I can monitor the live sessions. It doesn't have to be this like 3D thing. But anyway, I just wanted to show that because I think it's kind of cool. And yeah, it's not totally my idea. I took it from an X post basically. But anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you found that useful. If you did, then please feel free to subscribe. And just to mention again, if you run or own a business and you're interested in implementing AI, then feel free to get in touch through the link in the description. Or if you're interested in the school community, that's in the description too. But yeah, thanks again for watching everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.